These are the most wonderful sister flowers I have ever seen. Just because she was tired of working in the city, she went into the forest to build a magnificent structure. The design of the treehouse was elevated off the ground, not only to avoid wild animals, but also to have an open space inside. The room could accommodate two people, a reclusive life, but still content with a good home. Meina and Lijuan, in their early 20s, decided to leave the city, ready to experience a kind of leisure they had never tried before. They hiked in the forest for half an hour and chose a large tree growing next to a big rock. The forest floor was very dangerous, so they thought it would be wonderful to build a shelter on a tree. The two sisters immediately got to work, each holding a machete in hand, aiming at arm-thick trees and chopping continuously. Don't think they looked weak. Surprisingly, they worked no less than men. After just a few hours, they had cut down a lot of trees. To build a treehouse, you must first have a foundation, and the two sisters coordinated very well together. They nailed logs onto the chopped branches, ensuring the ends extending to both sides were supported so the platform would be sturdy. Then they did the same on the other side of the tree, relying on the wild roots to create grid-like structures. Each connection was secured with high-quality iron nails and tightly tied ropes to ensure safety. They continued to saw off unnecessary branches to install the logs and build the entire foundation for the treehouse. This work was time-consuming and exhausting, but luckily there were two of them, so it was much faster than doing it alone. Thanks to the hard work of Meina and Lijuan, the entire platform was completed in no time, though it wasn't perfectly neat and beautiful. The jagged edges were trimmed and excess wood inside was removed according to the planned size, and a few diagonal beams were added underneath to increase load-bearing capacity. Near the middle of the rock, they fixed a few protruding logs to attach the inclined beams of the staircase. The rock surface was very slippery, so climbing up and down every day would be dangerous. That's why Meina and Lijuan quickly built stairs. Since the platform was elevated off the ground, it needed guardrails. Meina started making wooden pegs, while Lijuan held the awl, drilling holes in the wood along the edge of the platform. Once all the holes were drilled, they simply hammered the guardrail posts into those holes and attached the crossbars in the corresponding positions. Thanks to their skillful cooperation, the parts fit together perfectly, like natural tree tubes. After that, they began building the shelter above. Lijuan found a dead tree in the forest as thick as a waist and spent some time cutting it into segments before bringing it back to camp. They prepared to saw it into thin wooden planks to use as boards. Meina made a solid rectangular wooden panel and, with Lijuan's help, lifted it into position on the edge, temporarily supported by a small wooden stick before nailing it to the platform. On the other side, they made another panel of the same size, but since there was a vertical fork in the middle, they had to complete it in two sections. Although the fork was in the way, it also became an important support for connecting the panels. Next, Meina assembled several support frames to prepare the roof. Placing the two corners of the frame on the panel, she carefully hammered nails at all the points to reinforce it. Everything proceeded in an orderly manner, and once the roof ridge was installed, the follow-up steps became easier. They placed two more columns on the front and back walls to perfect the frame between the sides. The entire structure of the treehouse gradually became complete. Meina found a flexible tree, bent it into a perfect arch, and tied it tightly with rattan to secure the joints and make it look better. She even wrapped the entire door frame in rattan. I couldn't even imagine how effective that would be, but it would be very durable and not easy to collapse. Meina was meticulous, layering more than 10 levels of roofing. While Meina was busy building the frame, Lijuan was diligently sawing wood below to make wooden handles. They wanted to turn them into bricks and tiles, which was quite laborious. Lijuan marked lines along the mold to cut them into the same shape. Meina collected many rattans from the forest to make 2 beds. They fixed 3 logs as beams and wove the rattans in like weaving a border up and down between the 3 beams. Each time one strand was finished, they pinned the end into the gap of the bedboard and continued with a new one. The rattans had to be pulled tightly, otherwise the bed would be loose and not durable. Mina's hands moved quickly, and in less than an hour, they had woven 2 beds. At the same time, Lijuan also completed making the bricks and tiles, moved them all to the hallway, hung the beams on the roof truss, and nailed them in place. When roofing, they stacked the tiles like fish scales, which not only looked beautiful, but also increased wind and rain resistance. The front and back walls were done the same way. The roofing process looked very relaxing. With the last tile placed, Lijuan quickly lit a fire, cut red candles into pieces, melted them in a bamboo tube, and poured them on the roof and into wall gaps as sealant. After that, both of them were drenched in sweat, so they bathed in a nearby pond. The treehouse's living space was still quite small, so they decided to build a larger patio underneath. They cut another 100 logs from the forest, made slots at the corresponding positions, joined the logs together, and secured them. 3 groups in total were arranged in the front and back, evenly spaced and tightly tied. The terrace frame emerged. The next step was flooring it with logs. Thanks to the sisters' diligence, the flooring was done very quickly and was almost finished in no time. They trimmed the protruding sections and built stairs connecting to the ground. Amid constant hammering, everything progressed at a breakneck speed. There were horizontal bars on both sides of the stair columns so people could sit on the steps. Mina's design was brilliant. Climbing up and down in future would be safer and more convenient. Guardrails were also installed around the terrace, using the same method, drilling holes and hammering the posts, then attaching the crossbars according to the holes. This method was also applied to the handrails of both staircases. In general, all necessary facilities had to be arranged properly, and every detail had to be refined. After all, Meina and Lijuan were meticulous girls. Now the treehouse looked much more majestic. So, if you were given the chance, would you want to live this life with them?